Protestantism. And Protestantism takes about 1/3 of Christendom. So this pen is very brief. Always, almost always are. Buying you at a time. The Protestantism lurches off to the left. That's the 16th century. 16 with a big C is the 16th century. The Counter-Reformation, the church rebuilds. It expands again. The Counter-Reformation, there was the Council of Trent, 2 sessions in the middle of the 1500s, soon after the Protestantism. The Catholic Church got its act together, and it continued straight on. And it even expanded again. Mexico became a Catholic nation, thanks to Our Lady of Guadalupe, in about the same year that, I think 1531, that Henry VIII took the England out of the Catholic Church. So the Mother of God replaced England with Mexico. Try telling the English people that. They might not all of them appreciate it, but there you are. The Counter-Reformation. That's also the 16th century. But the devil never sleeps. That's the point about the devil. He is always at it. And therefore, the Counter-Reformation succeeded in making Spain, Italy, Portugal, Ireland very Catholic. Half of Germany, the southern half of Germany also, the northern half of Germany, Scandinavia, England were gone. But there was another expansion of the church. The devil doesn't sleep, he comes back. The devil, this time it's liberalism. And he's not going to take certain nations, he's going to take the politics. And from now on, it's going to be the separation of church and state. It's the French Revolution, liberalism. So let's date that 1789, the French Revolution. And here's Protestantism. Protestantism, 16th century. And liberalism is a development from Protestantism. Without Protestantism, there couldn't be liberalism. What is liberalism? Liberalism is when Luther attacked the Catholic Church, there was only the Catholic Church. So it was Protestantism or Catholicism. And Luther was very clear. Here I stand, I can do no other. He wasn't mushy-minded. Luther was not mushy-minded. But the liberals, the devil this time profits from the fact that the Catholicism no longer got a monopoly. Catholicism and Protestantism are now at loggerheads with one another. Bang, bang, bang. They fought a tremendous 30 Years' War in Germany and tore Germany to pieces. They fought, the English Civil War was in effect that. There was religious wars in France. The Catholics and the Protestants were fighting. So along the Peace of Westphalia in 1648, at the end of ended the 30 Years' War. And the agreement was, let's live and let live. The Pope disapproved because he could see what would happen. What would happen when, in 1648, the Catholics and the Protestants said, look, neither of us is going to win, we better stop fighting. Because the Catholics couldn't beat the Protestants couldn't beat the Catholics, so we'll stop fighting. The Pope could see that to stop fighting was going to lead to these ideas are as good as those ideas. It's going to stop fighting, to make peace in action is one thing, but it's going to be liable to lead to peace in ideas. Now, peace in ideas, peace between 2 and 2 are 4 and 2 and 2 are 5 is bad news, because it's going to dissolve arithmetic. Because everybody's going to say then 2 and 2 are 4.5, which is untrue. Therefore, peace in ideas is bad, while peace in action is understandable. So the Pope didn't like the Peace of Westphalia because he could see where it would lead. Sure enough, it was on the way to liberalism. Liberalism is, ideas don't matter, doctrine doesn't matter. Look, you Protestants think one thing, you Catholics something. The important thing is that we all live in peace. We all mow our front lawns, we all put our children in good schools, we all have nice cars. Hey, religious ideas don't matter. Do you mean, the Catholics say the Pope, the Pope, the Holy Eucharist, and the Blessed Mother of God, and the Protestants refuse all three? Doesn't matter. What? The Holy Eucharist doesn't matter. Well, that's what it leads to. So liberalism is the proposition that it's the mushing of minds. From now on, from liberalism onwards, you've got mushing minds. And it's mushing minds because Protestantism is now established against Catholicism, and the two being there, the peace in action, the toleration in action, the toleration in practice, leads to toleration in theory. Toleration in theory is not a good thing, because if it means, if the truth has to tolerate error, if it has to tolerate it, yes, but if it can avoid it, if it can help tolerating it, it's going to clean up the situation for truth. All error is a bad thing, because error is error, and error, if you make an error in engineering, the building is going to collapse. So, I mean, engineers understand that error is important. It's just in religion that comes the idea, oh, truth doesn't matter. Ideas don't matter. And this is the problem from now onwards. Liberalism. The church rebuilds once again. The church rebuilds with the 19th century missions. For instance, in Africa. For instance, in Oceania. The missionaries go to new parts of the world, and new parts of the world are opened up for the faith. And the church again makes conquests. The church again, after losing politics, the church nevertheless in religion manages to expand again. And the church continues on her straight path. So the church, and actually in the 19th century, the church did expand, but liberalism was also advancing. So Catholicism opened up new countries in the 19th century, that's in the 1800s, but the liberalism was also expanding. Freemasonry was getting more and more of a grip on the Western nations. And there's a very famous French priest who, Père Emmanuel, who had a parish the whole parish became like a monastery. But towards the end of the 1800s, he realized he was losing grip. There was the people were the non-Catholic states, the liberal states, were undermining the faith of the people. Because what happens is, it's like in the United States. The real religion of the United States is not Catholicism or Protestantism. The real religion of the United States is religious liberty. And Catholicism rests on religious liberty. Thanks to our glorious American nation, we tolerate Catholics, and you Catholics are free to expand, you're free to practice your faith. Thanks to our religious liberty, you Protestants are free. That's liberalism. Thanks, you Hindus, you Buddhists, we've not got one religion. If we have one religion, we're going to split this nation. This nation needs to be one, and it's one by religious liberty. Liberty is the new religion. Liberty is the religion of liberalism. And the United States is riddled with liberalism. Thanks to England. It's the English who established their language and established their culture, the main culture in the United States. They beat the French in the north, they beat the Spanish in the south, and to this day the language of the United States is English, so it's my country that's the source of all kinds of problems all over the world, all kinds of religious problems. The 19th century missions rebuild expand the church again. The devil doesn't sleep. He comes back with, this time it's only a small, apparently small problem. It's called modernism. Because what has happened is that, and it's the end of it's about 1900. So it's about the turn of the 18th century, the 19th century, the 20th century, about 1900, plus or minus 1900. Modernism. Modernism is liberalism has created a new world. Liberalism is the religion of... Apparently, a liberal world tolerates Catholicism, so the Catholic Church was able to expand and did a good job. But people are liable to think, we have Catholicism, we have the Catholic Church, thanks to our liberty, thanks to our toleration of all religions, including Catholicism. People, you're welcome to practice your Catholic religion. We are favourable to your Catholic religion. By all means be Catholic. But then he turns around and says, By all means be Protestant. By all means be Jehovah's Witness. By all means be a Mormon. You know, it's a 360-degree toleration and friendship. All religions are good. George Washington said, a nation needs religion. He didn't say which religion. If he'd said which religion, he would have split the United States. To keep the United States together, he had enough good sense to see that religion is necessary for a state and for a nation. But he could not specify which, at the price of national unity. Therefore, the very existence and nature of the United States, simply to take them as an example, I'm not saying that they're the blackest of villains, on the contrary, but simply to take them as an example of liberalism in action, what you've got is a society which is apparently friendly to Catholicism, but is actually undermining it, because it's putting underneath all religions a religious liberty which makes religious liberty the real religion that everybody believes in. Our Lord says, the truth will make you free. So the truth is underneath, and freedom, a basis of truth will give you freedom. The modern world is a basis of freedom will give you any truth you like. But any truth you like is not the truth. Because all of the non-Christian religions say that Jesus Christ is not God. All of the Christian religions say Jesus Christ is God. All of the decent Christian religions. Jesus Christ is God. Now, he can't both be God and not God. Either he is God for you and me, for everybody else, whether they like it or not, whether they believe it or not, or he's not God for them, and he's also not God for me. I am in a pious illusion, I am just dreaming, I'm a fool, but he's not God. It can't be that he is God and for me, and is not God for you. That's not possible. Just as this crayon cannot be red and blue. It's either red for all of us, and all of us see red, of course, or it's blue for all of us. I mean, somebody may have eaten too much green cheese last night and then it looks green, or whatever. But unless they've got some derangement of their senses, or they've drunk too much, that is for all of us red. And common sense says, this thing is outside of my mind. I don't control what colour it is. It controls what colour I think it is, because it tells me what colour it is. That's what's called objective reality. It's outside my mind. And there's only one. It can't be two or three colours at the same time. So if religion is objective, if truth is objective, which it is, it cannot be that Jesus Christ is God for me and he is not God for you. That's not possible. You may deny him when in fact he exists, or I may imagine him when in fact he doesn't exist. But in fact, there's only going to be one nature of our Lord Jesus Christ. Either he is for all of us God, or he is not for all of us God. Therefore, a situation in which half the people are completely free to think he is, and half the people are equally free to think he isn't, is a situation which is floating in error, and which is tending to mush people's minds. Because if he both is and isn't God, then contradiction doesn't matter. If contradiction in religious matter, it doesn't matter, then contradiction in nothing matters. In which case, if Jesus Christ is or is not God, then this pen is or is not red, doesn't matter. All ideas, all thinking, all truth is undermined by liberalism. Because liberalism wants to tolerate both truth and error in religion. Tolerating truth and error, it dissolves the law that you can't contradict. The two contradictory statements will no longer contradict one another. Jesus Christ is God, Jesus Christ is not God, doesn't matter. In that case, contradiction doesn't matter. If contradiction doesn't matter, I cannot think one thought. I cannot think a true thought, because the opposite thought is going to be just as true. Therefore, liberalism dissolves people's minds, and it dissolves their thinking. And that's what we've got all around us today. That's today's society. Mush minds everywhere. And so modernism, but the liberals, by 1900, they've created a whole world of industrialism, suburbs. The suburbs are coming in 1900. Industrialism is there big time, especially in England. England led in industrialism. The United States is catching up, and Germany catching up big time in industry. Industry is cutting people off from the land. Industry is cutting people off from nature. People are losing their grip more and more on nature, on reality, on God. They're floating off into a brave new world without God. And in this brave new world, the Catholic Church has somehow got to fit. It's not easy. So what happens is, a few bright churchmen say, a few bright priests say, hey, let's get modern. Let's update the church. Let's adapt the church to the modern world. Now, we'll keep the same words, but we'll change the substance. Thus, imagine a pharmacy in which some thieves break through in the middle of the night. They want to steal some pill or other. They empty out all the bottles on the floor to cover their traces. They empty out all the bottles on the floor. The pills are all a complete mixture. Then they put any pill back in any bottle, but the same bottles with the same labels. So that when you go into the pharmacy in the morning, you've got all the same bottles with all the same labels, but the contents are completely different. That's modernism. Modernism is keeping the words, changing the substance. For instance, the word resurrection. You and I know what that means by our faith. It means that the very, very same body, from head to foot, of our Lord Jesus Christ, that was nailed to the cross, with nails driven through his wrists and his feet, and with a spear going through his side, that body came out, that same body came out of the tomb on Sunday morning. It came out, it rose because at death on the cross, the human soul of our Lord, the human body was separated, which meant his human death. The resurrection was quite simply God, by his power, divine power. He has the power of all creation. He took his human soul and his human body, put them together again. The moment they were put together again, Jesus was living, the man was again living. As God he never died, but as man he died. As man he's again living, and he bursts out of the tomb can no longer hold him, he's risen from the dead. That's what you and I understand by the word resurrection, and if you and I don't understand that, then we're not Catholic. What does the modern world can't accept that somebody who was dead lives again. It's ridiculous. People, once they're dead, they're dead. They don't come back to life. So the modern world can't believe, finds it very difficult to believe in the resurrection. But oh, the resurrection makes me feel good. Oh, I love the feeling. Oh, the idea of rising from the... So we're going to keep the word, but we'll change the content. Well, for instance, whenever we Christians get together, and we all feel the same, we all have the same gooey feeling in our breast, and we're united by this gooey feeling, that's Jesus risen again amongst us and in us. Ah. So the resurrection is now gooey feelings. It's no longer it's no longer anything physical, material. It's no longer anything real. It's just gooey feelings. That's Protestantism. Gooey feelings, Protestantism. It's liberalism. So liberalism and Protestantism create this idea of modern churchmen to adapt the church to the modern world. The modern world can't believe in the resurrection. No problem. We'll change the meaning of resurrection so that it's easy to believe in. Do you believe in gooey feelings? Oh, yes. Well, I'll tell you, resurrection simply means gooey feelings. Oh, in that case, I can easily believe in the resurrection. And that way, by changing the substance but keeping the appearances, modernism threatens to destroy the church, because it's going to completely destroy the substance of the church. But all the appearances will still be there. You'll still have churches on the block. You'll still have what look like priests. You'll still have what look like altars, or they're going to change that to a table. You'll still have, the appearances, at least to begin with, the appearances are maintained. So that's modernism. Change the substance, keep up the appearances. It's deadly. Pius X smashed it with a great encyclical, Pascendi, in 1907, and then with Lamentabili, and then with the anti-modernist. Pius X did his best. Pius X was a peasant. He did not come from the suburbs, and he did not come from an industrialized part of Italy. His mum and dad were peasants, and he came from the earth, and he had a sense of reality. And he did not buy into modernism. He said, this is not the Catholic faith. This cannot be the Catholic faith. This is going to destroy the Catholic Church totally. This is the end of the line. If people think they can empty out the substance and keep the appearances, they're gone. They're gone. They're gone. It's over. So he did everything he could to smash modernism, and so it didn't take off. What it did was to go underground. So then there are the 20th century missions, and that there was another expansion of the church. The church, even in the modern world, thanks to Pius X, the Catholic Church stayed on track. It stayed on track, and it went forward, and the church held against a whole world getting more and more liberal. More and more science, more and more industry, more and more suburbs, more and more machines, less and less reality, less and less farming, less and less people on the land, less and less, fewer and fewer people with a grip on reality, more and more people floating off into fantasy. But the Catholic Church held. Thanks to Pius X, Pius XI, Pius XII, the Catholic Church still held. But underneath, the modern world was advancing, and underneath, liberalism had put the skids under clear and strong and real thinking. What happens next? Well, then, it wasn't just a small thing, it was a gigantic collapse. Vatican II, which is Vatican II, the Second Vatican Council, 1962 to 1965, and it's neo-modernism. Sorry, neo-modernism. It's a rerun of modernism. But the difference is, the huge difference is, that whereas modernism was smashed by Pius X, and Pius X had enough, there were still enough peasants inside the Catholic Church for peasant churchmen who got still some common sense. There's still enough common sense amongst the churchmen to stand behind Pius X and stomp on the modernists. But 50 years later, it's practically all the churchmen who go off dancing with tiptoeing through the tulips. Tiptoe through the tulips, da 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 da. Da, 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 da. The churchmen, they went into Vatican II, or Solomon's series like they're meant to be, and then they came out of Vatican II dancing. Oh, we're up with it now, we're mod, we're hip, we're fun. Religion is no longer old-fashioned and fuddy-duddy and condemning the world. Religion is now fun, let's get with it, everybody, and practically everybody got with it. And that means that, that there was very little left, very little Catholicism left, because the modern world has got stronger and stronger, and there are fewer and fewer people that see how wrong the modern world is. It's godless. In one word, it's godless. It's liberal and it's godless. God is liberty. I want to be free. And notice that of all the liberties, liberty of education, liberty of worship, the most important is liberty of religion. Because if I've got liberty of speech, liberty of education, liberty of meetings, but I haven't got liberty from God, then I'm still under the 10 Commandments. I've still got to do what God says I'm still in. So the one liberty that really matters, the king of liberties, is religious liberty. Vatican II makes a document on religious liberty, which Archbishop Lefebvre calls just blasphemy. But that was the last document of Vatican II. It's one of the worst, one of the very worst. And it says that, it says basically, souls, human dignity is such, the dignity of the human being is such that he must be allowed to choose what religion he likes. The state must not protect especially the Catholic religion, the state must allow freedom to all of its citizens to go in what religious direction they like, because of the dignity of the human being. So Vatican II was saying, God is not so important, human dignity is important. Man in the place of God. That's Vatican II. And that's why Archbishop Lefebvre called it blasphemy. So here you've got the summit of liberalism. The final development of Protestantism, my gooey feelings instead of the truth. The summit of liberalism, religious liberty enthroned inside the Catholic Church, the rerun of modernism and the success of modernism, it's all in Vatican II. Vatican II is prepared by Protestantism and liberalism and modernism. And so the church, the great body of the church crashes off to the left. And that's the stupendous revolution of Vatican II. There's a tiny remnant left. Guess what that remnant is? It's Archbishop Lefebvre, it's Bishop de Castelmaya. The Archbishop succeeds in creating the SSPX. So let's say it's not only the SSPX, but the SSPX is there. Most of them modern young men. Most of them come from the suburbs. Most of them are used to machines. Now, of course, they grow up with electronics. These are children after the 1960s of the brave new world created by Vatican II in the 1960s. Most of the young priests now come after the 1960s, and they're children of a new world. They're children of the new world. They've got little to no idea of those realities which Pius X, as an Italian peasant boy, learned on the land. And so the SSPX begins with Archbishop Lefebvre. Archbishop Lefebvre is born in 1905. He's born well before the 1960s. He's got medals all over his chest, missionary medals all over his chest. He's got a distinguished career before he becomes, before Vatican II. At Vatican II, he did his best to stand up to the bad guys, to the liberals and the modernists and the reformers. He stopped a good deal of the documents being much worse than they would have been without his efforts and the efforts of a number of bishops like him at Vatican II. He wasn't alone at Vatican II, but he was one of the ringleaders of the good guys. But after the council, he said, at the council you had 200 good guys, 200 bad guys, and the rest were in the middle, and they followed the Pope. The Pope, John XXIII, and then Paul VI went liberal, and so the 1,600 guys in the middle all went liberal. So you had 1,800 against 200. End of the council, about 200 good guys who say, this is a disaster, we're going to hang together, we're going to resist, we're going to do what we can. But they're only bishops. And the Pope, Paul VI, smashed them. And they either died, they were pensioned off, they died of a broken heart. Archbishop Lefebvre quoted the bishops, Archbishop MacQuaid of Dublin, for instance, he said he died of a broken heart. Though the good bishops who who understood what had happened to the church was destroyed by Vatican II. This is the church, it's gone, it's finished, it's my life, everything I believe in. And they died. They died, or they were destroyed by Paul VI. If they wouldn't get out by themselves, he got them out. Paul VI, after the revolution of Vatican II, Paul VI strong-armed the whole church into modernism to get it away from the old religion. It's a new religion that came in with Vatican II. And now comes the SSPX. And the SSPX expands all over the world. The SSPX, and they're bright young priests. As Americans say, bright and bushy-tailed. We are the best. We are the SSPX. We are right and everybody else is wrong. We are the tops. There are some wise old birds who wonder if these sweet young priests are really as good as they think they are. God gives his grace to the humble, he resists the proud. And surely one reason for what's happened to the SSPX is that the young priests have got proud. Not all, of course, but a number. You've heard probably some of these young priests who think that since they belong to the SSPX, since they're children of Archbishop Lefebvre, then they are the bee's knees and the cat's whiskers. And there they are, and they're going to teach the whole world a lesson. Well, let's just wait and see. What happens next? The devil doesn't stop. So the devil then attacks the SSPX. And it's a great chunk of the SSPX that risks going exactly the same way as the whole of the rest of the modern world. And it's the most normal thing in the world. what could be normal with the pressure of this whole world coming to bear now. There's a lot of unemployed devils since Vatican II. I mean, they worked hard at Vatican II. They zonked, they zapped the mass of the church's bishops. You know, and the devils are now in peaceful control of practically the whole world. So that they're unemployed. So all of these unemployed devils are now can concentrate their fire on the one substantial group that's still resisting, which is the SSPX. So the devil tells the SSPX priests, you are the best. You can't fail. You are infallible. You can change, you know, you've got to teach, you've got to go in and convert the church. You are children of Archbishop Lefebvre. He was right and everybody else was wrong. The devil mixes truths and lies. So he says, you are the best. Oh, wow, wow. You can go in and convert the church. Wow. You've got the truth. Of course we have. Yes, yes, yes. You are the best. Wow. And you, Bishop Philly, I can imagine the devil doing this. You, Bishop Philly, will succeed where Archbishop Lefebvre failed. Wow. Wow. You will reconcile all Catholics, the conciliar Catholics and the traditional Catholics. You will solve this Lefebvre problem. You will blend it all together. You will succeed. You will convert the mainstream church. You will go down in church history as one of the greatest church heroes of all time. I can imagine the devil. Oh, wow. So Bishop Foley goes down to Rome, all bright and bushy-tailed. And the Romans, oh, they're cunning. They put on all the red buttons they can. They lead him through all the marble halls. This is Rome. We are the authorities of the church. And they flatter him. They flatter him. You, wow, Bishop Foley, you are heading up. You're very young. You're heading up the great society of Archbishop Lefebvre. We admire the society of Archbishop Lefebvre. We think Archbishop Lefebvre was great. That's what Cardinal Ratzinger said to him. You know, we admire Archbishop Lefebvre. Oh, and we admire you as well. Oh, just sign on the dotted line of the council and all the problems will be solved and you will be the greatest figure ever in church history. Powerful temptation. So that's what's going on. It's simply the rerun of modernism, of Vatican II, of modernism, of liberalism, Protestantism. This has built up a whole world, nothing more normal than that the children, especially the young priests, formed after the 1960s, born after the 1960s and formed after the 1960s, while the Archbishop was alive, he had a tremendous charisma and he had a tremendous attraction. He was a holy man. His holiness attracted. He had good sense. He had a good sense of humour. He had common sense. He had a sense of humour. He had all kinds of qualities which made the young people follow him like, you know, little ducks follow mother duck. And he was pious and they were pious. And he said his office and they said their office. They followed him, although inside they weren't children of his generation. And therefore, when in 1991 the Archbishop died, and his powerful magnetism was no longer holding the society up, when he died, within a few years, the society, these young priests began to collapse again. Exactly the same happened in the Diocese of Campos. As long as Bishop de Castromai, another old-timer, as long as Bishop de Castromai was still alive, the Diocese of Campos held. He held it with his personality, with his faith, with his example, with his track record. He didn't have the charisma of the Archbishop, but he had serious good qualities. And he held his priests as long as he was alive. But the moment he was dead, the sweet young priests that had been following him began wanting to tiptoe through the tulips. And sure enough, in a little space of time, Bishop Rifan made an agreement with Rome. So many traditional organizations have made an agreement with Rome. It's the most normal thing in the world. They start out traditional, and then they're exposed to all of this. It comes to bear on them. The devil brings it to bear on them. And they say, well, yes, Vatican II wasn't as bad as that after all. You'll hear Bishop Foley saying on television, to CNR I think it was, religious liberty of the council, it's limited, it's very, very limited. And he says, the council is not all that people think it is, and so on and so on and so on. These deadly quotes going in the direction of the Second Vatican Council, favouring the Second Vatican Council, in order to make himself popular with the conciliarists, instead of just popular with the traditionalists. So I don't know how this is going to pan out. I don't know how it's going to finish. Normally, it's going to finish badly. Normally, which is why you are already taking evasive action. You're already stepping out of the SSPX line because you're afraid of the way it's going to go. And I'm afraid you're right, but charity hopes all things, says St. Paul, and we hope the society won't go wrong. There is definitely resistance in France. I think the future of the society depends upon France. The centre of gravity of the SSPX is in France. The largest number of priests, the largest number of seminarians, the largest number of sisters, it's France, France, France. For good or ill, France is out in front. It had some of the worst theologians of Vatican II, and then it had Archbishop Lefebvre. And today, the largest number of priories, the largest number of houses in France. What are the French priests thinking? What are they going to think? How are they going to react? A number of them definitely don't like what Bishop Foley is up to. A number of them see through him. They don't buy his line. Many people still buy his line because he's got a smile which reaches from one ear to the other, and he's so sweet, and he's so sincere, and he's so holy. People think he's holy. Oh, wow. Well, if that's the kind of holiness you like, then then you like that kind of holiness. Good luck. Myself, well, let's pass. But he does seduce. He's a great seducer. I know of a few months ago there was a good priest from the continent who was about to, who very nearly began coming to England to look after the Mass Centre down south, and there was a project there was plans that he would come up to Glasgow also and look after yourselves up here. But at the last minute, he was persuaded by his district superior, who is a Foleyite, and I think two district superiors, both of them Foleyites, persuaded him at the last minute to go and see Bishop Foley. So he goes to see Bishop Foley down at Acon. Bishop Foley broke his vacation, interrupted his vacation to come and see me. He spoke with me for 3 hours. He was so humble. He said he had a fault. He admitted he had a fault. He said that he doesn't speak always very clearly, and then the journalists pick up his words and make all kinds of things out of them, which he doesn't really mean. And he listened to everything I had to say. And he was so nice. I'd never known him so nice. He was nice. He was loving. He was gooey. And he made me go all gooey. And so I'm not going to step out of the SSPX after all. I'm going to stay in gooey, gooey land. Ooh, ooh. Pardon my mockery, but you know, if you don't make fun of these characters, if you start taking them seriously, you are gone. You can't take these characters seriously. The ridicule is the best treatment of them, in fact. Otherwise you lose your common sense and then you go and buy into the nonsense. So I don't know which way it's going. Say a prayer. Say a prayer, especially for the priests in France, that a number of them see through him. Perhaps a third of the priests in France see through him. But on the other hand, a number of them love the gooey, gooey stuff. And he's a gooey, gooey bishop. And it's a gooey, gooey world. And he's in tune with this world and with the journalists, and they're in tune with him. And it's a whole powerful current. And I don't think he himself is going to backtrack. It'll take a miracle to get rid of him at the top of the society and his gang, because he's got a gang behind him and with him, around him. And there's a gang in control of the society. It's a terrible punishment from God. What have we done wrong? Well, what have we done wrong? And all of us need to ask ourselves. I think a lack of doctrine, a lack of truth, People don't love truth enough. They love goo. They love feeling gooey. They've turned the church into a chocolate club. You know, we all get together to eat chocolate and feel good. That's what the new church is. And that's, you know, it's very attractive. I love chocolate. But I don't like it when it comes to religion. When it comes to religion, by the grace of God, I want truth. I want truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Somebody once joked, if Bishop Furley came in front of a court and swore that he was going to tell the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, that would make 3 different truths that he would tell. It's a good joke. It's another. The poor man. Poor man. Yeah. But it's terrible what he's done. Does he know what he's done? God knows. It's not for us to judge him. But what we can observe is what he has in fact done. What he has in fact done, he has been the main agent of the unlefevering of the Society of Pius X. He's been the main agent of dissolving the work of the Archbishop and breaking it and making it gooey so that it will fit in with the conciliar church. He bears that responsibility. Pray for him. We must pray for him, and we must pray for a miracle that God save the society. If God saves the society, well, we can all go back peacefully and happily if the society comes back on track. But if it doesn't, my goodness, you're right to be doing exactly what you're doing. And that is stepping out, thinking for yourselves, and I hope hunting for the truth. And the Archbishop used to say to his seminarians, if I don't tell you what the Church has always told you, if I don't stick to the doctrine of the Church, don't follow me, he said. In other words, don't follow me because I'm sweet and nice and seem to be gooey, because underneath he wasn't gooey. The appearance was gooey, which is what made a lot of gooey boys follow him. But underneath, beneath the doctrinal dove, beneath was a falcon, a doctrine. And that's the Catholic. He's nice to people, but he's vicious. You could almost use the word vicious when it comes to doctrine. And that's what we have to be. So learn your faith and learn about Vatican II. Read the writings of Archbishop Lefebvre, because he's understandable. He's the best writer about the whole crisis of the Church. And this crisis of the SSPX is simply a rerun of Vatican II. And that's why what the Archbishop said about Vatican II is the problem with the SSPX. So if you want to do yourselves a favour and do the Church a favour, instead of watching television, get hold of books by the Archbishop, and read them and study them until you see what he was really saying about this whole mess, abandoning the truths of God. And then, of course, beware, because maybe the resistance will expand again, but then a few years later, whoop, off it goes tiptoeing with the tulips once more. Be careful. We are all of us capable of falling. We're all of us capable of tiptoeing through the tulips, because it's so much more pleasant than reality. The dream is so much nicer than reality. Oh, the liberal dream is beautiful. The reality is not so beautiful. So, and then of course, if I go crazy, don't follow me. Don't follow me because I'm sweet and nice and good. Follow me only if I keep to only insofar as I tell you the truth. If you read the Gospel of St. John, many times, about 20 times, our Lord says to the Pharisees and the Jews who are fighting him, he says you will find about 20 quotes. I am not telling you just what I think. I am only telling you what my Father told me to tell you. I am just a servant of my Father whose truth, it's his truth and not mine. Our Lord says at one point, my doctrine is not mine, meaning the doctrine I'm telling you doesn't come from me, it comes from my Father, it comes from God. I as a human being am simply channeling the truth way above me to you apostles. And you apostles have got the business down to the end of the world to channel God's truth to human souls. That's all that you have to do. That's your business. And so the moment a Catholic bishop stops telling the truths of God, you want to stop following him. Stop listening to him. Because the truths of God are what he should be about. let's say a Hail Mary and be on our way.